Okay. Yes. So the next draft number 2. Okay. Couple of things about draft number 2. One, make sure your draft, if your draft number 1 was a bit shorter than 4 pages, which is fine. I only asked for 2. That's cool. But make sure draft number 2 is 4 pages or as close to 4 as you can get it. Why? Because the next one after that is the final draft. Okay. So really, when you go from draft number 1 to draft number 2, yes, you do, Saba. I'm getting to that next. All right. When you go from draft number 1 to draft number 2, really, this is when you should be putting the work in, because when you go from draft number 2 to the final draft, ideally, you're just going to be like polishing. Okay, that's when you're going to address, excuse me, the editing issues. Okay, yeah, that's when you're going to address all those. So right now, we're still developing our content, but now it's time to really start just fine tuning it a bit more. Okay, fine tuning it a bit more. But I think we're all where we should be. All right. I believe everyone turned one in, but if you didn't, all right, the door is still open. So get it in there. Okay, get it in there, because what day is this? Yeah, I want to try to have this thing wrapped up by the end of the month, or even before possibly, so we can start on our comment essay, which is the essay about the book. Okay. So draft number 2. Okay, let me get some screen sharing going here. All right, draft number 2 is due Thursday, June 17th. Thursday, June 17th. Put it in your calendar. We will not be having a session June 15th, so we won't be meeting. I'll make sure I have D2L outfitted or updated, so we know what's what. But yeah, draft number 2 is due the 17th, right? And Saba asked a great question. Okay. If you look, I'm on D2L now, and I am in the week 5 module. Okay. And if you click on this document right here, self-assessment. Okay. I made this document a few years ago because it's important to me, and hopefully it's important to you, that you take ownership of the revision process and really your paper as a whole. I put comments on everybody's papers. I highlighted certain things, but I don't want us to be in the mindset of just looking at all this, or looking at all these marks on my paper and just going through it and fixing. Okay. So I think that's one important thing that we need to keep in mind. That when you start working on draft number 2, you are doing more than fixing. Okay. When we have face-to-face sessions, there's a lab component to the class. Like, there'll be a short lecture discussion, and then the rest will be students, working in class on their papers. I always get scared when I give a student their paper back and they give it back to me, or they submit it the same day. All right. To me, that already shows that student probably didn't spend enough time revising, or it could mean that their paper was just that good. But usually there's some revision. I always say, man, you don't get points for speed in college. All right. So first thing you do when you get your paper back, before you even start looking at the comments, read your paper from beginning to end. Read it from beginning to end. And it's even more beneficial if you read it out loud from beginning to end. Okay. And then if you have somebody who's willing to listen to you, that's even better. Okay. But I say read it out loud because sometimes when we read things back to ourselves, we read back what we meant to say. Okay. So now you all are turning in draft number 2 Thursday of next week. Okay. Along with draft number 2, you're also going to submit this document. There's 2 ways you can do this. If you have a printer and a scanner, you can print this out, do this thing by hand, and scan it, upload it. Okay, that's a lot of steps. Right? Or you can just, okay, All right, type your responses. That's fine as well. But the important thing is, okay, to really go through this thing and just put some time into it, because you're still thinking about it, you're still engaging your paper as you do this. All right. And for this thing, I'm not really looking for a specific set of answers. This is all about you, getting to understand your process that much better. So first thing you're going to do after you've read your paper, or after you've gone through the revision process, what are 3 changes, at least 3? You can mention more if you want. What are at least 3 changes you made to your paper from draft number 1 to draft number 2? Don't say I made my paper longer. Okay, but you can say, I added more detail to this. Yeah, I know. You can say I added more detail to this and that section. Okay, so that's fine. All right, John, you back? You back with us? So 3 changes. What's different? What's different? What's different? Okay, more detail. Maybe you trim some off around the edges. Maybe you organized. Maybe you had a paragraph at the end. You say, hey, you know what? Maybe this will sound better. Maybe you revise your introduction. Okay, maybe you revise your conclusion. Maybe you didn't have a conclusion, on draft number 1. Okay, and then this is vital. All right, for your understanding. And I want you to answer this question honestly. How long did you spend working on draft number 2? If it was just like, hey, I got backed up this week and I only had a couple hours, put that. Okay, if you worked a little bit every day, put that. But I think whatever your answer to this question is, it's going to help you understand your process, because maybe you didn't spend long enough on it because you didn't get the results that you wanted, or you just had this about with anxiety when it came to the end, because maybe you overestimated how much time you had left, or maybe you said maybe I spent too long thinking about this, and maybe I was overthinking it a little bit, or maybe I spent just the right amount of time. So answer that question honestly as you can. Okay, I'm not judging. You know, um, no matter what your English teachers tell you, all of us have thrown papers together at the last minute. Okay, but we pay the price. We pay the price, whether it's a price in anxiety or whether it's a price in not getting the grade that you want. Okay, I've had both of those experiences. Right? All right, sitting outside of a class doing a paper, terrible. Yes, self-assessment is due when you submit the paper. Okay. And then, what aspect of writing this essay did you struggle with the most? Okay, what gave you the most issues about this paper? Is it, deciding what to leave in and what to take out? Is it, deciding what details to include? All right. Is it deciding how to open? Whatever. Okay, think about it. And now, because there is yet another draft number 3, what are you going to do to improve? Okay, you're assessing yourself. Okay, so you're looking at your paper. Even though you have to turn it in, you're looking at your paper and asking, okay, what can I improve on next time? Okay, again, it's just that process of taking ownership of your own work. Okay, and the reality of it, I think I explained this before. You guys are going to have a lot of classes that aren't writing classes, but they involve writing. So rough draft, teacher's probably not going to want to see it. They only want the finished process product. So you're going to have to go, you're still going to have to take yourself through that process. Okay. And then these are just yes, no questions. All right. Answer them honestly though. Okay. Have you used your opening sentences to evoke the reader's interest? Did you reel them in? Okay. Did you reel them in? All right. Have you clearly identified the experience you're about to relate to your audience and its significance? Okay. I have there because plural, but yeah. Okay. In other words, an introduction does just that. it's like when you meet someone for the first time, you introduce yourself. Okay, you introduce yourself, and sometimes you're preparing them for a conversation to come. All right, but you don't just go in and start talking somebody's head off without first introducing yourself. Okay, you know, if it's a person that you want to I guess establish something with, whether it's a friendship or some other kind of connection. All right, so think about it. Okay, how are you going to get your reader ready for what you're about to start talking about? Okay, now this is something that I ask on a few papers, especially the ones that need material to be cut. Your body paragraphs directly related to your essay's main idea. Meaning, if you're talking about, you know, I guess messing up in school or whatever, okay, that's what the focus of your body paragraph should be, right? Don't include a paragraph about, you know, something that's unrelated. Okay. So yeah, you know, I wasn't doing well, but my cousin made straight A's. Okay. Essay is not really about your cousin. All right. So really mind your experiences. What I mean is like really, you know, unpack your experiences. Okay. And, you know, if you struggled 11th grade year, what about that year? Okay. Did you have family stuff going on that affected how you performed in school? Were you like me and just spent 3 years not understanding math? All right. And you know, being afraid to ask for help because you didn't want to be looked at as not as bright as the rest of the class. So, you know, what was the teacher's name? Right? Were they helpful? Were they not helpful? Okay, did you try your best? Did you slack off? All right, these are the details that your reader would want to see. Okay. Not so much, right? I walked into class, you know, I had on a red sweatsuit, I had on white shoes, my bag was purple. Okay, that's not really a good setup there. But your reader doesn't need those kinds of details. Okay. Um, Too much detail can sometimes be a distraction from your main idea. So you have to constantly police yourself, or you have to constantly keep yourself in check by asking yourself, okay, what does this have to do with my main idea? And that's not even to say that your point's not interesting or the material's not interesting. It's just that if it doesn't relate to that main idea, it shouldn't be in there. Okay, because you don't want to distract your reader. So I think before, and this is again another reason why I ask you to read your papers from beginning to end, because you're asking yourself, all right, if my reader doesn't get anything from this paper, what is the one thing I want them to take from this? Okay, that's going to give you some direction and some organization. All right, so when you're going back to your essay, are your body paragraphs directly related to your essay's main idea, or do you got stuff in there that doesn't belong? Do you got fluff in your essay? And fluff is just now, I've never put fluff in a paper, right? But fluff is just stuff you put in your paper that doesn't really say anything. You're just trying to get you're trying to get another few paragraphs. Okay. So ask yourself, right? Are you saying anything? Again, I've never done that. Okay. No, I'm joking. Okay. I've had papers that were like 90% fluff. All right. My favorite teachers are the ones that called me out on it. Okay. One teacher I couldn't stand ended up becoming my mentor. All right. Are your body paragraphs organized chronologically? Meaning, ooh, man, when you're writing a narrative, don't jump around in time. Okay. What happened first? What happened next? What happened after that? And so on and so forth. But don't be 8 years old, 16 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. Don't jump around in your paper. Okay, because that will cause your reader to disengage. All right. Your reader will say, man, where is this going? Okay, where is this going? Okay, so try to organize chronologically. Okay, what happened first? Okay, don't this is something that's becoming like really popular within the last few years, but or I've just been seeing it a lot in papers. But don't fast forward your reader. What I mean is like it's 2010 in one paragraph, and then the next paragraph starts off fast forward to 2021. It's like what happened in those 11 years? Okay. Don't fast forward your reader. Your reader wants to know. Your reader wants to know what happened. You don't have to tell them like every second of your life that occurred, over that time. But if there's something that's relevant to your narrative, put it in your essay instead of fast forwarding your reader. And if you are, going to move forward, absolutely no time traveling. And if you figured out how to time travel, let me know how, because that's an interest of mine. I'd want to go forward though, not back. Okay. So instead of fast forward, why don't you can say after X amount of years of doing X, Y, and Z, and then continue your thought. Close, please. Man, I've been on my computer since like 11 o'clock, man. So my eyes are about to fall out of my head. Okay. So after 10 years of struggling to find a permanent place to live, I finally found a place. That doesn't sound right. Okay. See what I just did, right? Word choice makes a difference. Okay. Word choice makes a difference. After 10 years of struggling to find a permanent place to live, I finally found a home. So instead of fast forwarding your reader, what happened? Okay. And like I was saying, you don't have to give every little detail, but don't just fast forward because it makes your reader think that you're leaving something out. Okay. Or your reader's just going to be guessing, well, what happened? What happened? Okay. It's like watching a series and then it's well, no, time jumps are okay in certain contexts in series. 5 years later. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Are the details you use to develop each of your paragraphs directly related to your essay's main idea? Um, mm, trim, trim some off the edges. Okay. If you have sentences in a paragraph that don't belong, sometimes, and it happens when we speak. Sometimes you just go off on a tangent. Okay. One thought leads to another. And then the conversation went somewhere else. But don't want to do that in writing. And the great thing about writing is you can go back and reread, whereas when you say something, it's out there. All right. When you say something, it's out there. Okay. So yeah, try to get rid of sentences that don't belong. Something we're going to talk about this week. And I even started putting it on your papers, paragraph unity. Okay. What does that mean? The short answer is every sentence moves in the same direction. Okay. Every sentence is organized around one common idea. Okay. So if you have sentences that don't belong or a sentence that doesn't belong, all right, or that doesn't speak to your main idea, you got to get it out of there. Okay. You got to get it out of there. Or you can do a little bit of surgery on the sentence so it fits. Okay. Paragraph unity. What time? Yeah, we might start that discussion tonight. Okay. Because that's going to be one of our foundational things moving forward. Say, are your body paragraphs unified? That's just what I said. Like start, pretty much how you start should be how you finish. Okay. Another thing I put on your papers, on some papers, and this is definitely a discussion we'll have this week. Um, Paragraph coherence. And coherence it's really the flow of a paragraph. Okay. Let me see if I can just bring up a quick example. Paragraph strategies. Yeah. So I'll come back over these slides sometime later this evening. So here's a paragraph that lacks coherence. College can be difficult for first-year students. Some struggle to adjust. The classes are harder and longer. Choosing a major is confusing. Students have to pay for their own books. Students have to pay for room and board. It can be very expensive. All of this should be taken into consideration before going to school. Okay? Short, choppy sentences. No fragments there. All right, but you don't want a string of these short and choppy sentences. Okay, and then there's no real connection between these sentences. Okay, and this paragraph doesn't flow really well. All right, but if we do a little magic, okay, do a little magic. All right, my slides aren't changing. I said do a little magic. Okay, never mind. Had to do it that way. Okay. College can be very difficult for first-year students, and many of them struggle to adjust to a new environment and new responsibilities, right? And on some papers, I even put, fill in these gaps of information. So instead of in our previous example where we said some struggle to adjust, now we told them why. Okay, we filled in a little bit of gap, a little bit of an information gap with a sprinkle. Okay, sprinkle me, man. All right. Yeah, sprinkle me, sprinkle me. All right. In college, classes are harder and longer. Again, okay, instead of just saying classes are harder and longer, we say in college. Okay, we're reinforcing that idea. In college, classes are harder and longer. Okay. Uh-oh, now we get fancy. Additionally, okay, in many of your papers, I put another sprinkle. Try a transition here. That was one of my suggestions. Sometimes I put a transition that will work there, but other times I just put, hey, try a transition here. Okay. Additionally, transitions I call like sentence glue. All right, keeps everything together, and it keeps like a smooth progression from sentence to sentence. Do you have to use a transition before every sentence? Of course not. Of course not. Some of writing is like feel, I guess, or judgment, if you want to use a different word. Additionally, choosing a major can get confusing due to all of the interesting programs schools offer. Furthermore, the cost of attending school can be overwhelming. Here on some of your papers, you'll notice I put practice using transitional phrases. Okay. Aside from paying for each class they take, students have to pay for their own books along with room and board. Room and board. The entire process of getting classes in logic can be very expensive. Students should consider all of the previously mentioned factors before going to college. So we took this same paragraph. I said this same paragraph. Oh, no, too much. Okay. And we just enhanced it with transitions. Okay. With filling in informational gaps. Sometimes I said on your papers, like be more specific here. And then maybe as another comment I asked, like, what is this? This would be a quote. Like if you said this can be very expensive, a more specific choice of words will work better there. So if I put like, what is it? Or what is that? Or what is this? It just means like be more specific. Say what you mean, especially if it's in a new paragraph. Okay. Don't expect your readers to be remembering stuff. Okay. Transitions. Oh man. Okay. Don't get mad at your humble instructor for this one. And only you know the answer to this. I have suggestions, but here we go. Okay. Have you focused your essay by eliminating unnecessary or repetitious details? One surefire way to lose your reader is redundancy. You're saying the same thing, from paragraph to paragraph. Okay, saying the same thing from paragraph to paragraph. Yeah. So don't repeat yourself. Even if you find yourself using the same phrases, the same words over and over again. Okay, switch it up. Okay. Don't just hit like thesaurus. I don't even know if that's still an option. Yeah, don't just hit the source and choose one at random. Make sure it's a word that you're comfortable using. I always want students to improve their vocabularies, grow your vocabulary, but don't start using a word until you're comfortable with it. Okay, you might have to take it out for a practice spin. Okay, and then I think we're all kind of in this boat because I only asked for 2 pages. So now the next stage of this is, just getting enough detail on your next draft. Have you used enough details to recreate your experiences for your reader? If you went through something that really tried you or that really tested you, okay, go into detail. Don't expect your reader to fill in the details for you. Okay. Let's say you moved into a new place, man, and there was an infestation of bugs, right? Okay. Let's say that happened. Describe it. Okay. Were there bugs in the cereal? Right? Were you afraid to look under the couch? Okay. How'd that feel? Did you feel like it was their home instead of your home? All right. So that's what I'm saying by unpack your experiences. Okay. And remember what I said at the beginning. Your only research for this assignment is recall. And try to, even if it was, years and years and years ago, try to take yourself back there and remember it as accurately and as vividly as you can. Have you used enough details to recreate your experiences for your readers? Okay. Many of you, talked about losing someone close to you. I think a good way to set that up is to show your reader how close you were with this person. Like you don't have to dwell on, the painful aspects. Maybe you share a good memory, with that person, that you share with that person. It's said that we never really die until, all the memories of us die. So, think about that. Think about when you if you've lost a loved one. If of course this is if you're comfortable enough to talk about. Like I don't want anybody to reopen old wounds for this paper. Even though writing can sometimes be therapeutic. And then finally your conclusion, right? Don't put anything new in your conclusion. Okay. Because then it becomes another body paragraph. Okay. So no new material in your conclusion. And then did you leave them with closure? You want them to feel like they completed a journey with you. And I know the majority of the essays I just got weren't done. And I totally get that. But for draft number 2, right? Try to leave your reader with that sense of closure. Okay. Meaning they don't want more. It's like, man, that was satisfying. Okay. Meaning you took me from beginning to end. Right? You took me on this journey. Okay. And then, oh yeah. Now, I wasn't looking at this too hard in this draft. Only if there was like an abundance of surface errors. Only because an abundance of these surface errors can be a distraction, for your reader. But for this draft number 2, and moving into draft number 3, when you finish it, okay, you don't have to do this as you go, but when you finish it, go back over that thing as best you can. Okay, as best you can. Um, Word choice, or not word choice, but like frequently confused words. Ab. Ooh man, see this one a lot. See this one a lot too. That's one person. There's multiple people, right? Okay, what's another one? And then two. Oh, forgot the most one I see a lot. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Okay. So try to catch those things. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is this class, until the end of the semester, you're always going to have a chance to fix or to catch stuff like this. But when you're putting your resume together, when you're sending that email, once you hit send or once you hit upload, that's what it is. And if misusing these is habitual for you, or better yet, writing without necessarily thinking about what you're writing or going back to reread what you're writing, it's hard to just flip that switch when it's like, okay, it counts now. All right. And I help, I coach students putting transfer essays together. And some of them I see, I'm like, man, I'm glad you let me see this first. All right. And a lot of times it's because we're moving too fast. Okay. We're not taking the time that we need. Okay. So try to catch stuff like that. Okay. This is on your resume. That employer's thinking like, well, if they don't know this, what else don't they know? Okay. Or if it's in an email, what else didn't they learn? Should I take a chance on this person? And if it's a transfer essay, to a college, you just made that admissions officer's job a lot easier because this is one less application they have to look at. All right. So try to catch this stuff. Okay. Again, to the best of your ability. Okay. I know we're just getting going. Okay. You can zoom a little bit. All right. We're gonna come back to this. Okay. Because this is a whole conversation that we need to have. Okay. Oh yeah. Good people. Good people of English 1060. Section S1201. Please, please, please. Okay. Start paying attention to formatting. All right. Most of them are formatted properly, but if I put, be mindful of formatting on your paper, you know, we got resources, right? This module on D2L, MLA documentations resources. Okay. Again, shows you a paper, right? Okay. Shows you the formatting, shows you the double space, right? So and then if you want it verbally, you can click on this video. I think it still works. Yeah, it still works. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's a short one. You know. All right. And it's just me, setting up a paper in MLA format. Okay. So make sure that that is not an issue on draft number 2. Okay. Make sure you're in the right font, the right size font. Um, Definitely make sure you're double spaced. Like if your paper is a single page, is 4 pages of single page type, you're gonna have to trim some of that down because when you double space it, it's gonna be at least 6. It's the same thing if you use a smaller font. Okay. Man, times have changed because when I was a student, I used to use a bigger font or try to when I wasn't taking things seriously. But sometimes we use a smaller font. But whatever you're doing, make sure 12 times New Roman. Okay, all that. Okay, and really at this point, we're what, 5 weeks in? We've done several sets of reading questions. We got the MLA stuff on D2L. Formatting shouldn't be an issue at this point, unless it's like something technical where you're struggling because you're still learning how to double space. But for the most part, formatting shouldn't be an issue at this point. And an easy way to double space, just highlight your material, right click. I don't know if it's easier. This is just the way I've been doing it for a million years. But you're gonna right click, bring up paragraph, and then just make sure this is set to double. Okay, and I take this down to 0. All right, bam, perfectly double spaced. Okay, perfectly double spaced. It's just much easier on the eyes. Okay, much easier on the eyes. Okay, so take yourself through this, folks. Again, it's still no pressure. We're progressing. That's what we're about in this class. Movements to improvements. Okay. Now, that's in the week 5 module. Okay. Another document that's in here is this, the feedback key. Okay. You're gonna see some crazy colors. As you know from these little Zoom sessions, I do use this highlight thing a lot. So when you see your papers, there's gonna be some highlighting on that as well. All right. If you look at this key though, it explains what everything is. And okay, gives you some tips. Some, I put little links on your papers. All right. But others, if I didn't put a link, all that stuff is right here. Okay. If you see something in this little neon green color or green, we'll call that lime, in the lime green. Okay. This highlight fragment. Okay. And if you're looking at the key and you want to just say, man, I need to brush up real quick. Okay. So I need to brush up real quick. The week five module, Kristen. Okay, and it's just called feedback key. All right, I use Grammar Girl a lot. Grammar Girl, or it's like quick and dirty tips. All right, and it's really, it is just what the title sounds like. Okay, you can listen or you can read. All right, and she's pretty enthusiastic too. All right, but okay, just gives you a quick breakdown. It really just reinforces, material we talked about last week. Okay, and to access the link from this Word document, just hold down Control and then click it. Same thing, a run-on or a comma splice. Again, run-on from last week, 2 or more complete sentences put together without proper punctuation, and then a comma splice is hiatus. All right, so a comma splice is just when you join 2 complete sentences with a comma. So we have comma splices are common. This is one sentence, and then students frequently join 2 complete sentences with commas. This is, a comma splice. So if you see something like this on your paper, this on your paper, okay, it just means it's a comma splice. Some I put a suggestion on how to fix. Like if you remember last week, we talked about separation. Okay, don't spell students with a Z line. All right, we talked about the semicolon. All right, we talked about coordinating conjunction. That really doesn't fit right there. I'm just doing it for example. Like that would be a bad coordinating conjunction. But yeah, okay. On some papers I did put the fix, but okay, again, absolutely, absolutely. Saba, yes, definitely use first person. Okay. And here's the quick and dirty about run-ons and comma splice. Okay. I wasn't going too crazy with this thing on this draft. You're very welcome. Everybody. You too, Kristen. All right. But if you see something that's a yellow highlight, sometimes I pointed out the specific proofreading issue, but others I wanted you to catch because, all right, again, it's going to be on you. It's your name going on your paper. So, but I want you to, if you see something in a yellow highlight, either I pointed out what was up with that, or something's not right with that. Okay, something's not right. Sometimes it's just a typo, that you'll catch after reading a second time, or you'll catch if you see it. It'll stand out if it's in yellow. Other times you're just in a paragraph, use the same word or the same. You started sentences the same way about 4 or 5 times in a row. So it's different issues. Sometimes it's a misuse of a word. All right. So if you see something in yellow, that just means go back and reread that because something ain't right. Okay, so maybe. And then I add little things to your papers. So if you see like some blue text, that just means I had it. A lot of times you'll see this. Like you'll see something crossed out, and then next to it, you'll see my suggestion, like, hey, try a transition here. Or um, sometimes stuff is just crossed out because you don't need it. Like we try to sneak extra words in our papers. I was born in the month of March on the day of the 26th in the year 1977. You don't need all that. So on some papers, I did put like practice eliminating unnecessary wordiness. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the content of your paper. Sometimes though, it just means that you said a lot when you could just say a little. Or you can get rid of some of the wordiness and develop more content. Okay. Here, yeah, we'll talk more about this Thursday. But the main thing about you is this. My mother was always late picking me up from school. When she would come, you would just be standing outside just waiting. Okay. You see how that sounds kind of awkward? When she would come, you would just be standing outside. All right. So instead of you, I would be outside just waiting. Okay. But typically, and this is something I'll go more into on Thursday, but typically in academic writing, second person point of view, your, and you are, second person point of view is usually avoided unless you're quoting someone. But for the most part, we don't use it. Okay. It still works. Oh yeah, it still works. Very good. Video. Okay. And then if you feel like watching this right here, if you feel like reading this right here. Okay. Well, watch and read. Watch and read. First person is fine for this essay. Sabi, you just asked. Since this is a personal narrative, first person is fine. Um, Usually not used in academic writing unless your teacher gives you the go ahead. Okay, like for us, this is a personal narrative, and you're talking about yourself, so you kind of have to use I in this essay. So I, me, we, us, our, perfectly fine for this essay. Okay, and now coherence. Coherence describes how a paragraph flows and the connection between in each sentence. Also, the connection between each paragraph. Okay, use transitions, parallel structure. When I say parallel structure, I mean this. Okay. When I was a kid, I like riding my bike, swimming, and to sled. Okay, if we're using parallel structure, we're going riding, swimming. Okay, so parallel structure just means you're being consistent throughout in a sentence. Like, or even if you say I like to ride my bike, to swim, or and to sled, even though this one sounds a little bit better. Okay, look at that while you're looking at your paper. Okay, and for your next essay, for your next draft, try. I know again, is new material. We just started discussing it last week, but start practicing catching your fragments. Okay, to the best of your ability. Start practicing. Catching your run-ons, your comma splice. Okay, if we go back, where is this? Oh, this guy, Sean McLeod. Okay, short videos. And if you go back into the week 3 module or the week 4 module, there's one on fragments as well. But this guy makes very short videos, but they're great, great little tutorials about run-ons, common splice. Okay, now time is almost 7. All right, I'll leave you with this in a minute. Now, resources for this paper. Okay, resources for this paper. First thing, NetTutor. Okay, NetTutor, you can upload a paper. You're gonna have to sign in, but you just have to do it once, and you sign in the same way that you sign into your student account. Like I'm already signed in here. All right, and I haven't figured out how to sign out yet. Okay, but you guys just can go down to Writing and Paper Center. Okay, and then you have these options. All right. You can meet with the live tutor, drop off a paper. This is what I was getting at. The main thing, if you use either one of these two, don't wait until the last minute. You got from now, you got more than a week, to get draft number 2 complete. And that's kind of by design. Like I want you to be spending the most time going from draft 1 to draft number 2. All right, but you got time. So if you upload a paper to a tutor, anticipate at least 48 hours before they give it back. Most times they give it back in 24, but it could be up to 48. Okay, or if you want to meet with the paper, meet with the tutor, that works too. Or you can see a tutor through our ASC, our Academic Support Center. Okay, this is by appointment, and now I do gotta tell you, my good people. Okay, if you're seeing a tutor, don't this wouldn't apply to anybody because I think everybody turned in the paper. But if you are gonna see a tutor, don't show up empty-handed. Have the assignment, meaning like the assignment from me, and then have your draft. Okay. Most of these instructors, I mean the tutors, especially the ones that have been there for a while, or like on the Southfield campus, they know me, they know my assignments. But just in case, have that handy. Okay, have that handy. But you can schedule that. Whatever your home campus is, I guess you can schedule that. All right. But again, just don't wait until the last minute because tutor may not be available. And then after you get some tutoring, you want to give yourself time to, implement, what you all talked about, if you choose to go that route. Okay. Now, all right. The assignment folder is already been created for draft number 2, but I don't want to see anybody's draft number 2 in there this week, unless you're just gonna have a super busy week next weekend. That's just when you need to get it in. But take your time. Take your time. Okay, revise. We're gonna continue this discussion on Thursday. Some of this material I didn't even get to tonight because I spent too much time on this other stuff, but we'll be more streamlined. All right, but yeah, folks. Okay. Oh, reading questions, of course. Those aren't due until next week. Okay. But the feedback key, self-assessment. Here's the assignment folder for draft number 2. Here's some reading questions in case you like really wanted some of those. I know you did. Okay, Merry summer, Christmas. Okay, and then this is just some. We're going to cover this material, revision strategies and paragraphing strategies when we see each other Thursday, and then some other little tidbits and knickknacks and all that good stuff. The point of view stuff we're going to cover. Okay. Questions for me? Okay. Well, folks. Okay, let me stop recording.